What's going on, everyone? The new Freedom is here. I've got it parked right out here in the sun so we can take a good close look at it. This is the sample of the new 2025 Freedom with a whole bunch of updates to this bike. If you're thinking about buying a wired Freedom or you've got one on pre-order and you're waiting for delivery, this is what you're gonna get. This bike with all these updates. Let's go take a close look at it. All right, folks, here is your first look at the newly updated 2025 Wired Freedom. Some pretty extensive updates to this bike. Obviously, you can see some major updates to the frame design, but there's little changes and updates all over this bike, which make it just a little bit better. And I did bring out the previous model or previous version of the Freedom so we can kind of better illustrate the differences. So the white one has been retired. If you are waiting on a Freedom to arrive, you're gonna get this one. This is the new frame style and all the new changes. The first change is right here at the front of the bike. It's the headlight mounting bracket. They simplified it. There's just this metal bracket now holding the headlight on, and it's very, very sturdy now. The previous version, it started out plastic, has all these like pivot points in it. Started out plastic and they were breaking. They switched them to this is like aluminum. It's sturdier, but still not as like I can move it like that. You really have to keep these tightened up. Where this new one, they just simplified it and it's much sturdier. So simple change, but very functional. Next change is also at the front. Now you've got front rack or front basket mounts. They're right into the head tube here. That's new for all wired bikes going forward. Scout, Warrior, Freedom, Cruiser, they're all gonna have this option. Well, it's built into all of them, where you're gonna be able to put a rack or basket onto the front. The previous versions never had that. It was just flat right here. I like that a lot because that just adds more function to the bike. Some people want to carry additional cargo. You can only fit so much on the rear rack, and it's a weight distribution thing as well. You don't want too much on the back. So being able to put a rack on the front, some weight on the front if you want, carry more stuff, I think that's a good change. That should have been there a while ago, but good to see them add it. So there's a couple small changes for you, but let's talk about the big change, which is the frame. Complete redesign on this frame. Everything is integrated into the frame now. So your battery pack slides in from the front here, totally enclosed in the frame. Down here in the bottom bracket in this box, you've got your controller and also your battery blender, which blends the two batteries together. So everything is contained inside of the frame now, as opposed to the old style was kind of a semi-exposed battery that slid in from the side. And your controller was mounted here on the back of the frame post. And I think the blender is crammed down in the frame somewhere in there. So this is all exposed and this is all totally enclosed. No changes to any of the capacities though. It's still 60 volt, 20 amp hour in the frame and 60 volt, 15 amp hour on the rear rack. So capacity remains the same. And this frame design kind of brings this bike into alignment with the Cruiser bike. The Cruiser got a major frame update on the last version. And this basically looks like the wired Cruiser now, but with a top bar. So they're a better matched pair at this point. Hey guys, one other quick note on the battery pack. Now that this is a frame integrated and front loading battery pack, it's now interchangeable with the wired Cruiser's battery pack. The in-frame batteries are the same and they're interchangeable. And I do want to stop right here before we get too far and just mention that there's no change to the drivetrain of the bike at all. It's still 60 volt batteries, same controller size, same motor size, no changes in that respect at all. Still got the same great power. A lot of these changes are just fine tuning the bike to make it as good as they can make it. Now the next change is kind of simple, but it jumped out at me right away. One of the first things I noticed about the bike, and that is these suspension components right here. So they kind of changed this bracket. They also made it way thicker. This is way, way thicker than the old one, and these bolts right here. So now they're black bolts with the torque ratings listed right on them. They're recessed down into these brackets. It looks really nice. This looks really thick and beefy. The old style, you had these silver bolts with the just plain washers behind them, and this is much thinner, kind of longer. So they really kind of beefed up the suspension and made it look a lot better. I like that change a lot. It's the same 4-link suspension with the adjustable D&M air shock here, so it pretty much rides the same. I think aesthetically though, it just looks a lot better. They made an update right here to the chainring. It's still 56 tooth chainring, however it's double-sided. It's aluminum, it's double-sided now, so you won't have your chain slipping off the chain ring at all. And they made a change to the freewheel. So in the back, it was 1128. Now it is 1134. You got this big, huge granny gear on here. And it is shockingly easy to pedal this bike. I did not know that that would make such a difference. I was able to pedal this thing with the bike turned off, no problem, up an incline. A great change to the bike that I didn't even really know that I needed. But if you're in the scenario where you run out of power, yeah, you could really pedal this thing home. I don't think I'd have any issue pedaling the bike home. And it's a pretty heavy bike. This is 120 pounds. It's slightly higher than the previous model. The white one over here, the old version, was 110 pounds. I don't really feel it riding it. I feel it when I ride the Warrior bike, you know, the 72 volt Warrior. That's 145 pounds. You can kind of feel that weight of the bike. I didn't really notice it too much here. It felt relatively the same in the weight while you're riding it. I mean, there's just more frame to this bike, and the suspension's a little bit thicker, and you got double-sided chain rings and all these little things that just add up, and it did add 10 pounds of weight to the bike. So 120 on this new version. Now, another major update to this bike, which is maybe one of the things I'm most excited about, is the addition of the torque sensor. It's actually a torque/cadence. It can be either or. You just set it in the display settings. So I can't really show you because it's, you know, down inside here in the bottom bracket, but it is torque sensor or cadence, whichever you prefer. I think that's fantastic. Everybody should have that. Everybody's really divided on that. I like torque, so I was happy to see the torque sensor come in. It does work. You got to push on the pedals when it's in torque, and when you switch it over to cadence, you just rotate them. You don't got to push it all, and it works. So that was a great little software thingy that they found, which I think is really going to please a lot of people. So torque or cadence sensor on this bike, I was very pleased to see that. The next big thing that I'm really happy to see is a pretty big redesign to the rear rack system. There is a lot of changes going on here. It may not look like it. So here's the new one. And then let's take a look at the old, see if you can see any of the differences right off the bat. The first is this old style had these frame, you know, these things welded onto the frame. I did hear reports of some of these cracking. I haven't had any issues with mine, but I don't put a lot of weight on the rear rack. So instead of now having tabs welded on, the frame is just bolted, or the rack is just bolted straight through the frame, like right here and right here, bolted right into the frame here. It looks way more sturdy. Some of the bars of the frame look a little bit beefier and thicker as well. And then the rear battery just looks smaller, and it kind of is. So on the original, this receiver was really wide. This is like 4.5 inches, I think, for just the receiver portion of it. And then you got the battery pack, and then you got this light sticking out the back end of it. And then on the new version, the receiver part went down like 2 inches. It's only like 2.5 inches for this piece. The battery is the same size, but then there's no, that taillight's not sticking out the back end of it. Instead, you have a grab handle here, which is fantastic. That was one of my pet peeves about the old version, is when you put the key in the key slot, it was spring loaded. So you had to turn the key and hold the key while you try to release the battery pack. And there was nowhere to grab on to the battery pack. It was really hard to get the battery out. Now it's super easy because the key slot is not spring loaded. You just turn it to open and it stays there. And then you've got a grab handle right here where you can grab a hold of the battery and pull it out. It's 100 times easier. So A+ on the updates to the battery removal. This whole thing just looks smaller, more compact, sturdier, beefier. I like it a lot. The rack is 7 inches wide now. It used to be 8, so it's an inch narrower. 7 inches wide by, I believe it's 16 inches long. And the old one was 8 inches wide and like 19 inches long. So it's narrower, and it's also like 3 inches shorter. It just looks a lot more compact. I never really liked the double taillight here. This is a battery powered. There was a button on the top here to turn this on. There you go. There's like a AA or AAA battery or something there that powers that. I never saw the need for the 2 taillights, so I like that they removed that, made it simpler in the back here, and put in the grab handle instead. And you still got your bike's taillight right here. So the whole rear rack setup is just smaller and more compact. And it's also a little bit lower profile. They shrunk the area right here. They kind of moved the battery down 1/2 inch as well. So there's not so much daylight underneath it. It makes the rack about 1/2 inch lower to get your leg over it. So all great changes there in the rear rack. And I think that is most all of the changes. The only other ones were in the display programming, where you now have the different class settings, 1, 2, 3, and unlimited. So when you select what class you want to be in, it automatically sets the parameters in the bike to align with that class setting. And then of course the unlimited is you just have everything unlocked and you can do whatever you want in the settings. I believe they added the ability to select your number of pedal assists. You can have 3, 5, 7, 9, and then you can also still program the amount of percentage delivered in each one. It's very fine tunable on the pedal assist. And now you got the option with the torque or the cadence, which is even more fine tuning to get what you like. You still have the slow and fast start settings you can adjust. And they also gave you the ability now to adjust the amount of throttle power. If you want to decrease that, if you don't need all that power, you can decrease your throttle percentage. You got options in there to make your headlight or your taillight or both flicker and flash if you want that instead of a steady beam. But that's all the changes I've been able to locate on the bikes. Everything else pretty much remains the same. Your same 203 rotors with the Gemma hydraulic brakes, the RST guide forks, still same fenders, same shifter, same derailleur, the 20, you got the derailleur guard there. Button cluster display remain the same. Grips are the same. Still BMX style handlebars. It's largely the same, but the, I guess, biggest difference looking at it's just the frame design. But what do you think? Let me know and let Wired know in the comments about all these new changes. If you like them, if you don't like them, if they missed one, I'm sure they'd be anxious to hear your feedback. Now there's only one thing left to do. Got to take this baby out for a ride and make sure it performs the same. Ride position feels pretty much the same as the previous Freedom. BMX style handlebars, nice and upright. I'm 6 feet tall. I like sitting upright like that. Suspension feels pretty much the same. You got the same front forks. Also the same rear shock, the D&M rear shock with the 3-way adjustable switch on it. You can go from very soft to firm just by the flip of that switch, which is really nice. Power delivery feels pretty much the same. I'll give you an acceleration here. I'm in the fastest start. I hit the throttle. Kicks in, takes right off. So largely it feels the same as the old model, even though it's got a completely different frame style to it. Brakes are the same. Good stopping power out of the Gemma brakes. I like those. Yeah, really comfortable ride. Very comfy. I like the BMX style bars. I mean, that's what does it really. All right, one other thing I want to show you is the gearing on this bike. I've got it in second gear right now. That's like a 24 tooth sprocket on the back. So here's how it is with no power, just pedaling in second gear to get up and running. You got to push pretty hard, but you can get yourself up and rolling. They put that granny gear on there, which is a 34 tooth. Let me switch to first gear. Do the same thing. You see how much easier it is to get up and running. So this is no power, granny gear. Way easier. I could actually ride this bike home without power on mostly level ground. On hills, no, forget it. It's a 120-pound bike. You could actually ride this thing home with no power. Or I guess second use scenario is if you're in an off-road setting, really steep, rugged hills you want to input with the pedals, switch it into this first gear with the 34 tooth and you get a lot more pedal power. And there still is one more thing that I know you guys want me to check, and that's the top speed to see if that changed any. I don't believe it has, but you know, we do have extra weight, so we'll see. Normally I could hit, I think it was 41.5 as a throttle only top speed on these bikes. Let's go find a nice long straight stretch, try it out. All right, folks, let's work our way up here and do a quick speed test. Here are the notes and things to know. I weigh 180 pounds. My battery is at 65.9 volts. Full charge is 67.2, so I am not at full charge. The tires are rated for 5 to 30 PSI. And before I left the house today, I set them to 26 PSI. And that's what we're running. Let's go up here and see how fast she goes. All right, here we go. Hopefully you can see one of these two displays, the GPS or the bike display. Building nicely up to 30. GPS is lagging a little bit behind. 38, 40. 41 and 40, 42, 43 on the bike, 42, all right, come on, hit 44, baby. If I duck down, probably 44, 43, I saw it flash. Wow, it's actually a little bit faster. That's a little bit faster than normal. Yeah, wow. Usually I hit 41.5 is normally where it just kind of tops out, but I did see GPS flash to 43 and the bike was on 44, so I don't think they reworked anything in the motor. Maybe they did, I don't know. Or maybe there just wasn't a large headwind today, I don't know, but It's pretty easy to hit right around 40 miles an hour on these bikes, both the Cruiser and the Freedom. And that's, I mean, to me, really all you need. That's really all you need on a bicycle. I mean, the Warriors, the Predators, they're going 50, maybe even up to like 60 miles an hour. I haven't tried the new Predator yet, but that's a lot for a bicycle. I think the 40 mark is very respectable. That's pretty much all I'm looking for out of the bike. Plenty fast for me. This is the 2025. This is the new one. This is what you guys are gonna get. I think it's pretty cool. What do you think of the color? I'm kind of torn on the Hunter Green. I don't know if I like this as much as the others. The lime green, #1 spot. Definitely love the lime green. The blue is okay. I have not seen the red. The white's okay. But let me know what you guys think of Hunter. That's all the information I've got to deliver to you today. If you have a question on this bike, you want me to weigh something, take a measurement, whatever it is, put it in the comments. I'll try to do that since this is pretty much the only one in the USA right now. I'm happy to answer questions. If you guys want to start to try to accessorize this bike before it arrives to you, drop those comments and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I'll put a link to this bike below if you want to check it out. If you think this might be the one for you, that'll take you exactly where you need to go. And if you buy through that link, it helps out my channel. So appreciate that. That's all for today. Thank you everyone so much for watching.